Welcome to Learnaversia, and today we're talking about a subject that you guys asked us to make a podcast for many times. This is crime. We will start by talking to you about a few recent crimes, and then we'll talk about the worst crime ever. Afterwards, we will each pick a story of a crime and talk about it.
Wow, nice! I'm very much looking forward to this.
Yes, sounds good. Let's start with recent crimes. A few weeks ago, a Florida man was accused for beating a pit bull puppy, stabbing it 50 times and stuffing it into a suitcase. This horrible man will serve 10 years in a prison after admitting to the crime.
Oof.
As he should. I totally disagree with what the man did. Although, I must admit, I hate pit bulls. These dogs were created by humans to be killing machines. They kill several people every year. I really dislike pit bulls, but people who want them should, I think, receive a class to how train your dog or something like that.
Yeah, but the pit bull was just a puppy. It couldn't do much harm.
Yeah, I find it incredibly sad that humans can be so cruel. Strangely enough, someone disliked American flags. Police in Arlington, Virginia, reported 3 separate incidences where American flags were lit on fire outside homes in the city. A joint investigations into these incidences are underway by the airline county, police, and fire departments. They are actively working to determine if the incidences are linked. The most recent flag burning occurred on October 28th and included a flag on a yard sign in support of Democrats. It read, "Keep Virginia Blue."
That's kind of
This clue leads me to believe that a Republican had part in this.
Yeah. If you live in a country, you should be proud to live in it, love it, and be very patriotic about it. I do not get people who hate their country. Personally, I am proud to be Canadian.
I totally agree.
Next up, a terminally ill man from Worcester, England, claimed that police shoved him to the ground. A frightening arrest last week after he moved the speed camera to his town.
What?
In his town, according to reports.
What? That's
funny.
really weird.
Yeah. Daryl Meekham, age 55, was diagnosed with cerebral system atrophy last month and said mooning a speed camera was on his bucket list. He called it a good laugh.
What?
But soon after, officers came to his house on November 5th, demanding him to come outside. He refused. He says, "Officer kicked down my gate and severely damaged my front door." Meekham, who is in a wheelchair and has heart disease and Parkinson's, also claimed he hit his head during the arrest and went to the hospital where doctors feared he could have a brain bleed.
What a story.
Yeah, absolutely. An Ohio woman was fearful of her neighbor and installed a Ring doorbell camera. It may have saved her life. An Ohio man is behind bars after allegedly trying to break into a home with a knife. And it was all caught on a Ring doorbell camera purchased only days earlier. Megan Allen told WLWT she bought the Ring camera on Friday because her neighbor was making her feel uncomfortable.
Wow, that was lucky. She bought it just in time.
Just after midnight on Monday, she said 20-year-old George Alberto Chavez was at her door. She called 911. Newtown police officers said her actions made every bit of difference. After a foot chase, police arrested Chavez Reynoso in nearby woods. Police Chief Tom Sinan said Allen did everything right because she was calm, because she had that early warning system, and because she was able to give us a lot of information. It helped us not only apprehend the suspect, but she helped herself and protected her family. The criminal was charged with attempted burglary, obstructing official businesses, criminal trespass, and carrying a concealed weapon.
She acted in an exceptional good manner.
Yes, indeed. A Texas man was arrested after allegedly beating up his bedridden grandmother and holding his girlfriend at knife point while hiding from police in late October.
What happened?
The Texarkana Police Department said that Brennan Brown became upset at his grandmother on October 27 for not allowing him to use his phone, which eventually led him to pin her on a bed, knee her in the hip, and unplug her oxygen machine. Brown also told his grandmother that he would kill her with a fan if she told others what he did, according to the police department.
Wow, that's so cruel.
It is.
One police detective received a warrant for Brown's arrest on October 28. He was found at the apartment with his girlfriend and refused to answer the door. Brown held his girlfriend at knife point to keep her from telling the police officers about Brown's presence. Brown is being charged for what he did with his bond set at $350,000.
Hope he pays for what he did. The worst crime in all of history after the break.
Imagine you could see what's happening at your home, even when you're not there. With SmartTech's complete video monitoring, you'll be sure that your home is safe from intruders with bad intentions. Check in on your house at any time with live streaming video and stay connected no matter where you are. Get real-time notifications when activity is found in your home.
SmartTech's camera is not only for keeping your house safe from criminals, but it can also be used to see what your kids or animals are up to. Install SmartTech now and make sure that your child does not eat the last cookie or that your dog is destroying the couch. When our amazing video camera detects motions, it will automatically start recording. Stay connected to your home today with SmartTech security camera. Order now for only 4 payments of $29, and we will include a free polyester cloth to clean the camera lens.
The SmartTech camera, the start of a new era. The worst crime ever is the Holocaust. It was a terrible event in history. Millions of lives were lost due to hatred and discrimination.
Tell me more.
It was a very unfair and horrible experience, not only for Jewish people, but also for people like Christians that Adolf Hitler did not agree with.
Well, yes, of course.
The Nazis killed 6 million Jewish men, women, and children during World War II. Truly horrible.
Yes, in fact, that's very horrible.
Crazy.
On assuming power as an absolute ruler of the German state, Hitler began a systematic campaign to strip Jews of their property and their jobs in academia, judiciary, the military, and civil service. Synagogues were defiled and burned. Jewish businesses were boycotted and shut down. The Nuremberg laws of 1935 denied Jews of their German citizenship and forbade Jews to marry non-Jews, and took away most of their political rights. This extreme act of racism is horrifying.
Wow, that's atrocious. Especially what happened to Anne Frank.
Oh yeah, her.
I find her story so sad, but who was Anne Frank? She was a Jewish girl who became famous for the diary that she wrote during the Second World War. She was born in the German city of Frankfurt in 1999. When the Nazis came to power in 1933, hostility to the Jews increased. Hans' parents, Otto and Edith, decided to flee to the Netherlands. They settled in Amsterdam and soon felt at home. She went to school, learned Dutch, and made new friends. 6 years later, war broke out across Europe.
Ah, no.
Nazis Germany invaded Poland. occupied the Netherlands while the Nazis had tightened their grip, organizing raids, arresting and deporting Jews to so-called labor camps. Those were concentrations and death camps. In her diary, Anne wrote about living in a hiding place during the war, and her thought and feelings bad for lying in warm bed while her dearest friends are out there somewhere getting killed. And that is only because they are Jews.
The U.S. got involved in World War II after the Japanese bombing on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The U.S. entry into the war helped to get the nation's economy back on its feet following the Depression. Although just 10 years earlier, jobs were difficult to come by, there were now jobs for nearly everyone who wanted them. With the creation of 17 million new jobs during the war, workers were afforded the opportunity to pay off old debts as well as to begin saving for their earnings.
Here are 5 facts about World War II. Number 1. The first German serviceman killed in the war was killed by a Japanese. That's weird because Germany and Japanese were allies in World War II. Number 2. In 1941, more than 3 million cars were manufactured in the United States. Only 139 more were made during the entire war. They manufactured so many cars in 1941 because that is when they joined the war. Number 3. Only 15% of the males born in Soviet Union in 1923 were alive in 1945. That just goes to show how brutal this war was. Number 4. To avoid using the German-sounding name hamburger during World War II, Americans used the name Liberty Steak. Liberty Steak sounds better. We should start calling them that. Number 5. Only 1 out of every 4 men suffering the U-boats survived. This also goes to show how brutal World War II was and how horrible the Holocaust was.
The war should not have even happened in the first place. Worst killers ever after this advertisement.
Is there a mysterious noise at your house? Do you suspect your spouse of cheating on you? Has someone you know been murdered recently, but should not trust the cops to investigate?
If any of these things are true for you, you need a private detective. Here at Lightbulb Investigations, we generally care about our customers. Lightbulb Investigations, private investigators, does all the things police officer does, but faster. Our private investigators are passionate. Cops may be incompetent, but our investigators have shared value. If you're curious about something or you suspect someone, hire a private investigator.
A private investigator only costs $50 per hour. Call now at 555-DETECTIVE. Once again, call now at 555-DETECTIVE. If you call now, you would get 50% off. Only $25 per hour. Call now 555-DETECTIVE to get a money-back guarantee. Conditions apply.
Welcome back. We have each picked a criminal or a crime that we think is truly horrible.
Okay, sounds good. I'll start. In my opinion, Harold Shipman is the worst serial killer. Born in 1946 on January 14th in a small town named Nottinghamshire in England, Harold Shipman had his highly successful life.
Successful? Isn't he a serial killer?
Yes, but before that, he studied medicine at Leeds School of Medicine. He was at the top of his class. He decided to become a doctor when his mother passed away from lung cancer when he was only 17 years old.
Poor guy.
After becoming a doctor, Harold Shipman was beloved by the town. Everyone thought he was an amazing doctor. But while everyone thought he was the best, He would secretly give the wrong medicine to his patients on purpose. He killed over 250 people. If you weighed all those people, it would be about 45,000 pounds. Crazy, right?
Whoa, how many meters would it be if you laid all them head to feet?
About 450 meters, more than the height of the Empire State Building.
Absolutely crazy.
Harold Shipman was locked up in his prison on January 31st, 2000. After an investigation, the police suspected him after 15 deaths in 1 week. He killed himself 4 years later, one day before his birthday, on January 13th, 2004, in his prison cell. I think he was the worst criminal because he was a very cruel person. The town loved him, but behind their back, he was killing them. People trust doctors. Doctors swear an oath to not do harm. I find Harold Shipman tremendously cruel for these reasons.
Man, Harold Shipman really was a psychopath. Anyway, I think the worst type of crime is when people are killed by other people they know after suffering for their life. Recently, a murder like that happened. The one of the little Granby girl.
Oh yeah, her.
Granby is a small city from Quebec in Canada. It is my hometown. We do not know the name of the girl, and we do not know the name of her stepmother, nor the dad who killed the girl. Before she died, they made her suffer. She did not eat. Also, they were putting out their cigarettes on her. They really tortured her.
I don't understand how parents can be like that, so cruel.
And her lunch at school was small ketchup packets. We know that because when we found her corpse, there were ketchup packets in her stomach.
Wow.
I think it's the worst crime, not only because it is recent, but also because it happened in our city, and that really shocked me.
That's truly horrible.
Yes, and that little girl there died aged only 7 years old. Do you know how she died?
No, how did she?
She died of suffocation with duct tape on her mouth and nose.
Wow, that's very brutal. However, the criminal I choose is, in my opinion, the most enigmatic crime ever. It started in the late 60s and is not solved yet. The Zodiac Killer is a serial killer that murders 5 people, attempt to kill 2 more, and miss an abduction. It is not that much if we compare him to killers that have tens of victims on their list. But the Zodiac admitted in a letter that he killed 37 people.
Whoa.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, the Zodiac liked to kill couples that were around 20 years old. He mostly finds his victim in cars at noon, so nobody sees him. Over 2,500 suspects were interrogated. Signs the first crime.
Although the Zodiac Killer might have been horrible, I do not believe that he is the worst serial killer ever. In my opinion, Luis Garavito is.
Who?
Luis Alfredo Garavito, also known as La Biesta, which means the Beast, is a Colombian serial killer, pederast, rapist, child molester, and necrophile. In October 1999, he admitted to the rape, torture, and murder of 147 children, predominantly boys and teenagers. His victims, based on the locations of skeletons listed on maps that Gravito drew in his prison, could possibly exceed 400.
Oh my god. That's so much.
That's a lot.
Garavito continues to confess to more murders. He has been described by local media as the world's most serial killer. The judicial body ruled that all Gravito's sentences totaled to 835 years in jail. This man was mentally sick, and he would have been plagued with symptoms of psychosis, paranoia, and depression as a result of extreme abuses that he had faced as a child and adolescent. I find it particularly barbaric because his victims were all either homeless, peasants, or orphaned.
How horrible. We hope you have enjoyed our podcast. Who did you think had the worst story?
Yeah, don't forget to like our channel and leave us comments for our next podcast subject.
Have a good day, everyone. We were Learnaversia, and see you next week for our weekly podcast.
Good day!